The Christian life is about relationship with the Lord. When we read John 15, Jesus is speaking about the vine, that he is the vine and we are the branches. He's speaking about those who received him into the life, and that apart from him we can do nothing. We need to abide in him daily by having fellowship with him daily. This is what he is talking about. He's talking about daily fellowship with Jesus, daily fellowship and obedience. So what am I talking about? Daily fellowship. Well, daily fellowship with Jesus is a simple thing, but it takes discipline, and it's having time with Jesus in prayer and reading the Word so that his Word abides in us, and through having, prayer, it's a two-way relationship with abiding in him. And from that springs the life of walking in the Spirit of God. You see, it's only as we do these things that Jesus tells us it's all about obedience and having fellowship with other Christians, not ignoring that, not saying that is not important. As long as we do the things he tells us, great things can spring from that. It says in Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10, "Who has despised the day of small things?" And we should never, ever despise the day of small things when God is speaking to us. You see, very often, before God does a big thing in our life, he will ask us to do a small thing. And if we obey that small thing, that can grow into a very big thing. Remember Jesus, he often spoke about seeds as well. If you plant a seed, seeds can multiply. They germinate, they multiply, and they become thousands and thousands of seed. If Jesus said plant a seed, that's his word, or do a certain work for him, it might be one small seed. When you plant that seed will germinate, grow to a plant and produce other seeds, and it's a multiplication thing. And so it's very important that we obey the Lord. But it must be hard. It is hard, actually. A matter of fact, it is hard for those that think they're hearing from God but spend no time with him in prayer, Bible reading, having fellowship with other Christians and regular attendance to a Christian church or fellowship. It must be hard for them to hear from God and to know what God is saying to them, to know whether God is saying a small thing or a big thing to them. You see, I'm speaking to people that are in relationship with God today. And if you're not in relationship with God today, then how possibly can you know whether it's God's voice, your own, or the devil's? And, we can be misled. And that's why Jesus said, apart from me, you can do nothing unless you abide in me. I am the vine. You're the branches. Apart from me, you can do nothing at all. And so it's very important that we do that. Now, if we look into the history of the Christian church, we can see that in so many cases, great men and women of God, initially, God asked them to do something very small. Now, and sometimes very lonely tasks. We find many great missions. When missionaries are called by God to go out to the mission field, they go out with nothing. It's just them. But they go out in obedience to a call. And from that springs great works throughout the world. And they plant churches. They bring all kinds of, establish all kinds of things for God in various places in the world. And it started off by a simple act of obedience. I'm saying this because it's important. I can think of many cases in my own life, and I can see many biblical, when he spoke to Gideon, what to do. It seemed a simple thing to do and almost ridiculous thing. But he did it, but look what happened. The armies that were opposing them were defeated, and so on. I was speaking over the past 2 weeks about how God spoke to me about when I was going home after preaching the word, and the devil was attacking me on that word. Now it made me, it put disarray into my mind, and then God spoke to me and said, buy a recorder and record the messages and then play them back to the devil. It's a sword of the Spirit, and it will also teach you something as well. And I did that, and from that act of obedience, we're now able to cutting a long story short, we're still in the recording business and putting out our recording messages out, the video and audio and so on throughout the world, and we've reached millions of people with millions of seeds. And so one act of obedience. So it's very important that when God asks us to do something, as small as it may seem, to do it, because from that small thing can produce a massive thing. Who has despised the day of small things? And we must not despise that and say, oh no, I want to do something big for God, and jump the gun, put the cart before the horse, and mess up. Don't mess up. Obey God. The whole Christian life is one about obedience. But like I said, if we're not in relationship with God, we don't know whether we're obeying ourselves, the devil, or God. We can't discern his voice. Keep in relationship with God, because that's the only way you can discern his voice, knowing what to do, and that simple small thing he asks you to do. Then you'll know it's God speaking to you if you're in relationship with him. You won't know definitely if you're not. So thank you for listening today.